Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst, Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am Bradford, and for those of you that follow me and follow this show, you know I am so passionate about all things business, all things finance. And I'm excited because we have a very special guest who will be joining us today. And before I introduce the amazing Tamara Hunter, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I want to tell you a little bit about Business and Financial Raw Talk. This show is designed to push the envelope, expand your thinking, elevate your consciousness as it relates to opportunities and how do you get rid of those blocks and how do you push beyond the envelope to achieve and maximize the yield that you want in life and in business, and ultimately increase the bottom line. Why? Because we know it takes money. When we're saying we want to be the change we want to see in the world, well, besides our time and our talents, in order to create that ripple, lifelong, sustainable impact, we want to have some money behind us. And today Barbara is my business partner. Tamara and I are going to talk about business, but on the nonprofit side of the house. But some of the messages that she's going to share with you, if you're in nonprofit, I guarantee you are going to apply to you if you are in the profit space. And with that, I want to first introduce her by showing you her company, which is a nonprofit support organization called Chemo Buddies for Life.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a Chemo Buddy for Life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are Chemo Buddies for Life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Welcome, Tamara. How is it going?
Thank you. You know, it's great. It's the first day of November and it's fall, so I'm wearing my brown and, you know, all excited about it. Excited to be here with you, Luana. And thank you for sharing that video. Every time I watch it, I have to hold back the tears because it just means so much to me. It means so much to my community. When I see the people that are in it, I mean, those are really, so many of the people in it are our people. That voice is my co-host for one of my shows. He is on my nonprofit board, and he's been with me since the inception of the nonprofit. And so that is really us. And so thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And every time I see it, I get the goosies, right? I'm like,
yeah.
It's so well put together and it's compelling, right? And that's what we want when we think about our position in business. And we're trying to attract ourselves to our client, our stakeholder. We need to have that compelling message, that why. And that's what makes nonprofits a little different than the for-profit, because you go beyond the bottom line and you look at that sustainable, life impacting impact in life. I mean, your organization is positioned to impact thousands around the United States, and who knows what's in the future, right? And I'm saying thousands, I mean tens of thousands of people, because literally when you impact the life of a person who's going through the sea journey, you've impacted a community, meaning their inner network, their families, right?
Yes. And we are international. In fact, our senior ambassador is out of Canada. We have buddies. One of my board members is out of Australia. And yes, we have affected, because our program within the nonprofit, and I'm so glad we're talking about this in the business sense, because people need to understand that a nonprofit is still a business. And I, for nearly 20 years, for 18 years plus, I was in the for-profit area as a headhunter business consultant. So I worked with businesses, across the different focus areas, so and many that were global businesses well before the internet. And so when I had more of a calling to do this, which is not an uncommon thing for those that are running a nonprofit, I still had to look at some of the balance pieces of it, because, you think about trial balances, you look at business balances, you look at, like you were saying, the fact that you need some kind of funds to run something. In the very beginning, I'll be honest, this was more of a calling, and I didn't necessarily look at it in the business funds money area. However, what I did look at it was the impact area. And I did a tremendous amount of research on that to see if that was something, if I needed to create something new, if there was something out there. That's a business thing, right? Who's the competitors? Who are the people that are doing? Can you join with someone else to make them stronger in a nonprofit sense? And many businesses will now, find co-op ways to be able to help to make both of the businesses thrive. And in our community, we support both. We found that supporting both the patient and those people that love and support them, there was a need for that. And so we went after it, and there was a need. There was an area pre-COVID that, as you know, we're internet based. And so that's why we can affect people wherever they have access to the internet and can get to us. And there was nothing like us then. I know, because I looked for that in my own journey, because I am a survivor warrior and proud of it. Yet I was also pre-COVID, I was put in isolation. I say solitary confinement. So, when you're thinking of any business, nonprofit or for-profit, you have to always see if there's the need and if there's someone else that's supplying that need.
I want to piggyback on something that you said. You said that it started off as a calling. And when we think about, most nonprofits do originate in that. There's something that has pulled at our heartstrings, whether it's our own lived experience or it's something that we've seen, right? That becomes so compelling that we can no longer sit on the sidelines. We can no longer stay quiet. And with this, when you translate it into the business sense, you're now enhancing your reputation, right? Because they now see you as beyond the dollar, beyond the bottom line.
Right.
But you're also showcasing to the world goodwill.
Yes.
And the world is hungry for that. They want to know you care.
Yeah.
That you hear the cries of the world, and that you are doing something somewhere to affect change, right?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. In fact, as you know, and those people that know me well, that when I embraced the calling and I finally found the lane that our community really needed to travel, then it was a matter of getting out there and being seen, and so that those people that needed us could find us, and so that we could then supply the what we call humor, hope, heart hugs, and a whole lot of love. And Barbara, your partner, is the one in that clip that shared those words, because that is one of our mantras. That is one of our things that we're going out there with. And a calling, there's so many people, because I started, when I did my research, I started researching other nonprofits and those people that help to create nonprofits, because I needed to create it. I needed it to be legal. I needed to figure out what is the paperwork that I needed to do to register this, and so that I could get out there, because you have to have your reputation. You have to make sure that it's staying, in alignment with what your message is. And then you need to be finding those people that you're serving and then serve them to the very best of your ability. And what I have always really thrived with our community is that we're not perfect. We don't even say that we are. However, we're full of love, and when you have the frequency of love on your side, it does a world of good to heal a lot of the wounds that are out there in the world. And right now, as you led into this, our world needs people showing up. And those that are feeling called, we need you to show up. And I'm so glad you're doing this show to encourage those people to say, okay, I've always known, because many of us, those that I've talked to, have always known that they were going to do something. They may not have known what it was, because life experience hadn't kind of caught up with them to kind of give them that focus of where they needed to be. However, they knew there was something around the corner, right? And so once they get that call, life experience also can beat us up to say, okay, oh yeah, you think I can do this? Oh yeah, and my answer to everyone is, if you have always felt it and you're being called to it, absolutely, you can do it. You can do it. You show up one step at a time, and you don't give up. And that's the thing. If I can encourage anyone today, anybody that is thinking about business for profit with a cause also, because there's that category. Exactly. So there's for profit that many times will align themselves with nonprofits. And I'm all here to say, yes, please do. For profit with a cause, and then nonprofit, which is a certain, in the United States and throughout the world, it has certain designations that you have to qualify for.
Right. To our listening audience, we are here with Tamara Hunter, who is the founder, executive director of Chemo Buddies for Life, a nonprofit support network. And we are talking about steps to take your lived experience and change the world. And so we heard 3 key steps that Tamara mentioned, and I just want to recap those. She said, first of all, you have to have, and I'm paraphrasing this, but your why, right? It's that passion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that compels,
right.
That thing that compels you. And then you align it with a mission. Mm-hmm. Key word here, they have to be in alignment. And that mission has to fall in alignment with the message. So if you're saying, I feel compelled to do X, I define this mission, but the message is incongruent, then it's going to be very difficult, number 4, to find that community that's going to resonate with it, right?
Oh, yes. In fact, so much so, you are so correct, that when I started to understand this and walk the journey, the messaging I thought was spot on. My doctors thought it was spot on. My nurses did. They were the ones that my doctor is the one that's in that clip. They're the ones. I'm like, okay, you convinced me to do this. You have to film with me. I need that third-party validation, right? Well, so did the research on, and thought, okay, the messaging is spot on. Oh, it wasn't. So much so that right now, one of my big pushes for 2023 is I need to even change our name. we started by saying no one should face cancer alone. Later found out that, we're telling our internal machines the wrong thing. So we needed to change that verbiage, healing through connections. And you said something straight on this segment in the C word. People don't want to hear that word. We don't want to pronounce it too much. We don't want to be using it too much, yet we're supporting a community that many have faced it. How do you do that? Well, there's ways of doing it. And it took us a bit of, if you will, massaging to get that message through, because later I found out that there were people that were staying away from getting the support that they needed because our messaging was not incongruent and was not in alignment with their personal beliefs in regards to treatment and verbiage. It's very important.
That's pretty profound what you just said. And to those that are listening, to live or to the replay, I want you to go back and just hear what Tamara just shared. Sometimes we have a message, but because of fear that, well, I want to be careful how I phrase things, and that's important.
Yes.
Phraseology is key.
Yes.
But if it's done in such a way that it causes people to not resonate with it, or they don't want to identify that way, then you've failed to create the bridge that you need, right?
Right. In fact, okay, so much so, let me give an example. So much so that because you've been a part of our community, you've come in, you've spoken, you've shared your story, you've shared the love, you shared the humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love in our group, because it's a very fun group. And we there for a while I'm a big thinker, guys. I really am. And I'm really a researcher. And so I thought, okay, we're going to be the next Jerry Lewis telethon. We're going to do it digital style. And we're going to do it, So my very first year, what did I do? I camped out in Las Vegas because that's where he did this. And I did it in the Red Walk Hotel. No one really could know because I had a backdrop. However, in integrity, I was able to say I was there. We did our, we did that first year, 24 hours live on air. Well, the brand was a different name because of the bigger brand and my brands. And I had to lead with the bigger brand. And so that was confusing to some. Okay. However, then second year, we went with our name. Third year, we realized we needed to come up with something that was in alignment with our message and our mission and would also intrigue people to come and be served. And that's when we came up with Tour of Love. And in fact, Barbara was very involved. Brooke Curran was very involved. I mean, Brooke did the imagery here.
I love it. I love the whole branding around that. It's fun.
Right. And we did it. And what was it all about? It was about buddies. Okay, buddies. What does that mean? What does it mean to humor, hope, heart, hugs? What does it mean, Tour of Love in a 60s vibe? It means that we are taking our lives back. We finally found our lane that we could then bring people in where they had enough information they wanted to know more. And the thing that when I do go out on stages, I start with 2 questions. And by the second question, I have everybody in agreement that they've been touched one way or another by that C word. And so they already are like, okay, I'm totally engaged. What do you have to say? Well, I know pretty much anywhere in the world, people have been touched. I don't need to pound that message home, right? However, what do we need to do as a nonprofit? And what do we need to do to help those that need what we have to offer? And that is to create an environment that they feel like, okay, I know I'm going to heal. I know I'm going to get through this. This is my mindset. This is what my doctor, because so many of us are, right? So many know your story. Many know my story. So many of us are alive and well and kicking and going forward and helping others. So the odds are in our favor. However, if they don't know and they stay away, then what we have to offer may not be the magic to help them to get through it. And this is the thing that always got me. and it's been the same thing throughout. And that was and is that I had in my mind, somewhere in the world, someone crying in the middle of the night, because the night is the hardest, crying in the middle of the night, feeling so isolated and alone, afraid and depressed, and saying, no one in my family is with me. They don't understand. In some areas of the world, they think still that that it's contagious. Not everybody has all of the facts. And so when we can then take something out that people are like, oh, I'm really interested in this, and then it's backed up with science, and it's backed up with actionable steps, and it's backed up with, that's where we can affect change. And the life experience that all of us, all of the volunteers, because we're a volunteer organization, have in common has been that I'm not the only one. The others are not the only ones. And we've come together to say, okay, let's get you through this. Some stay, some don't. And some come to serve and then realize that they learned more from what we are helping than they even think that they've offered to someone else. And that's when you know you've got it. And it happened overnight? No. But what happened was that the baby steps, the calling of, okay, and not being overwhelmed. Okay, my doctors and my nurses say, okay, you got to do something. Okay, what do I do? Okay, walk, do the research. Yet, don't get so, I see too many people getting paralyzed at that step where they don't go out because they don't want to make a misstep. They don't want to maybe, like, what if I offend those that I want to serve? Well, you won't know until you start. Sometimes.
Yeah. You can't please everyone, right?
No. And I still don't. I will say I don't. And I will also say this, because many know, not everybody, but many know I needed to step away for a little bit because of personal reasons. I was gone for a little bit. I'm just starting to come back right now. And was that worrisome to me? Yes, it was. However, I knew what we had created was going to stand on its own. It was going to stand on its own. And that was reassuring to me, because when you create a nonprofit, at some point it has to be generational to make it have the staying power. It can't be, you're going to be out there, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to be out there and you're going to feel like, okay, is anybody going to join me? Is anybody going to do this? When is this magic going to happen? Trust me. Really, truthfully, if you've done your research and you really know that there is the need, it will. And then once it does, then that's when you can make the effective change. And so what we've done like this, and I'm very, very proud of it, is that we always knew that it was Tour of Love was going to be a bit bigger than the nonprofit. However, it spun from the nonprofit, and it will always support the nonprofit. And that's where also starting to understand the magic of the internet, the magic of streaming TV shows, the magic of community, and everybody coming with strength. That's where
let's pause right there. And I love what you're saying. So, when we're talking about seizing those opportunities, it's taking some proven traditional lanes, right?
Right.
And then overlaying it with technology in order to expand your reach. But what's very critical is being bold enough to tell your story, to tell the why. Yeah. When you're leading with the why, when you're saying, I am doing this because of my lived experience or someone else's experience, and in perpetuating this message of hope, I know that I will affect change. The world is going to be different because Tamara L. Hunter was, and because Chemo Buddies for Life is. Did you hear? I said that intentionally.
Yes.
Was and is. Why? Because he's building legacy, something that's going to sustain once, as we all will transition, right?
Right.
Once you're gone, you don't want this to go with you.
No.
Right?
No, I don't. And you're correct. And this is a huge subject for me. And I, a couple days ago, made an announcement that I wrote a chapter that's in one of my coaches that I went on Impactor. She's doing a book, and she invited me to be a part of it. And as I was starting to come back, and the subject matter was one that I thought, okay, I'm willing to share a little bit more of the backstory and share a little bit more of my story, because I knew in the very beginning, known all along, that I was going to do something, because my story is one that could be a few Lifetime story movies. Many of us are, right? And we compartmentalize when we have, and in the very beginning, I didn't. And so I had some coaches that were like, okay, when you're telling your life story, you need to keep it here right now, because this is the relevant part of it that's going to bring people to be a part of being a buddy community and supporting those that are affected by the C word and other life-changing health events. And so I focused there. Now, in this chapter that's coming out, many of us that have had the trauma in our bodies that has created that C word, many times it's from other events that can be huge. And mine were. And I've not talked about them before. And in that chapter, I started to put it out there. And why didn't I? Was I afraid? There's a little, I don't want to say afraid. However, it's like, when is too much? Because there are some that it's like, okay, you share the story and some are like, I've heard this before, or okay, what's next? Like, okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes of it, and so then you're putting your heart out on your sleeve, and is it really relevant? Is it going to make a difference? And there's some truth in that. And so that's where I think the pendulum is always something that we have to look at. And it goes back to even the business way of looking at things, the check and balances, that we're in accounting. What do? You have to key things off, and so you're always looking at for what is going to bring that initial, your reward. What is it that whatever the revenue might be tied to, whatever the end goal is, whatever the end in mind, whatever you want to use, right? Your fiscal year, whatever that is, when it comes to life experience, that is where many times I watched a movie last night. I'll just put it this way. And it was about a singer and a songwriter. And there was a coach that was talking about, you haven't found your magic yet. You're good. You're very good. But you haven't come up with your authentic voice to this. And until you do, you're not going to be great. And I thought, oh, that's good. That's good, because anybody that's willing to go out there on cause, they need to be able to be so real and raw. If that's what it is tied into, the people are going to be able to say, it's like the video that I share, right? That it's going to then say, okay, I felt that. And okay, I need more of this, whatever that is.
Let me interject right there, because we have to remember we are multi-dimensional, faceted, and we have layers of experiences that have allowed us to evolve into who we are at this moment. So who we are today will not be who we are 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We will be a reflection of all of these experiences, but we'll look, feel, and react to life a little bit differently because of that compilation of compiled journeys.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, when you were talking about there's a piece or pieces that you haven't shared that now you are.
Mm-hmm.
When we're thinking about nonprofit and the funding that you need,
right,
you now may attract other people who may not have a personal cancer journey, though they may know someone because of these other experiences,
right,
may have a greater affinity to say, wait a minute, I want to lock arms with this person because I'm on this journey for this particular cause, and maybe we can collaborate or complement or cross-pollinate our communities to create greater awareness. Perhaps we can collaborate on joint funding ventures.
Yes.
There are so many other opportunities when we get out of our way.
Exactly. Exactly. And sorry to step on your words, but I'm very passionate about this right now, because what I also, in the very beginning, I worked with some very solid people that worked in the nonprofit world and helped nonprofits get up. And I really did listen, because I really enjoy being a student. And I found that, yes, my story is very compelling when you start really diving down into it, because I am one of 5 people in 4 generations, all through one family line, that heard those words. And then you can dive deep into all of that. It's painful. I lost my 2 heroes in my life were the 2 I lost, due to that word. And they died, both of them died alone. And that is one of the compelling reasons, the why behind the why, because the stories are incredible. And literally, when I share those stories on stage, I have them laughing and crying and laughing again, because, it's like, you got to keep engaged and everything. And yes, I'm tearing up, they're tearing up, and yet you're right, and it's like, now it's time. And sometimes, even as leaders, we can't beat ourselves up. Like, okay, was it time before? Maybe, but was it really? Well, I didn't do it. So obviously there was some reason why. Now I'm feeling drawn that it is time for me to go that deeper into it. And part of it, truthfully, is because of the Service Hero Show. Service Hero Show, I've now 5 or 6 seasons of it. I know I've done, close to 900 shows. It's a tremendous amount of them. I've told the inspiring story of those inspiring others with all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of stories, for-profit, nonprofits, people with cause, everyday people that have no business of their own, but they did something amazing. Want to honor them. And what people would say is, Bally, you asked questions and you seemed like you knew what I was talking about. Yet I don't know that about your story. And I wouldn't go deeper about it, but I was like, yeah, I understand it, because I've been there and done that too. I understand your story because I've been that person. I've been in those shoes before. And it wasn't my story to tell. It was honoring them. It was not the time to do that. And now, coming back after 1.5 years of being gone and realizing, okay, it's time to tell the story behind the story. And this is the first show that I'm really talking about that I'm even doing this. I made mention of it in a post. That's as much as I've done so far. And the reason why is that anybody that's working and thinking about working within the nonprofit world as a volunteer, as building one, whatever it may be, because this is a business and this is a business show, I want you to understand that people do feel your heart, and they feel your sincerity, and they know when you're talking their language, and they'll follow you, and they'll be with you, and they'll continue to be with you if they know that you're authentic. And I will say, I have been 100% authentic in my lane. I will say that 100%. Anybody that knows me knows it. And I'm grateful to have the support of the people that I do. I don't take that for granted. However, with that said, the bigger story here, the story behind the story, is that, and it goes in alignment with my nonprofit, the one that our community is about, is that these traumas that people have been through, if they don't do the work to help to make themselves whole, then years later, they may get the diagnosis. And that is now what I'm realizing. I need to come out and start being a little clearer on my message on why is it that so many of us that may, and sometimes we just don't know. However, there are many that have been through, and you may be one that's listening to this right now and saying, oh my goodness, she's talking my story, because I was through this trauma as a child, or I was through this trauma as a teen or as an adult, and it was hell, and I didn't want to relive it, and I didn't want to do the work to relive it, and I didn't want to do the work to get through it, and I just wanted to lock the door, forget, throw away the key, and go on with my life. But our bodies have a way to, in my nonprofit, our bodies have a way to not get rid of that key, though we thought we lost it. And so that's where, in being in integrity and being a leader and really asking myself, being away and have a little time to ask myself, what is it that I am not doing and what can I do better? And that was this. The life
Thank
story.
you for sharing that. And to those who are joining us, we're here with Tamara L. Hunter, who is the founder and executive director of Chemo Buddies for Life. And you may be thinking, LaWanda, I thought this was business and financial raw talk, and where are you all going? Well, I'll tell you where we're going. We're saying that in business and in life, but especially in business, for-profit, nonprofit, these are 5 things you want to think about. You want to know your why. So Tamara's compelling why was she received the C diagnosis. It awakened some things in her, some things that had been repressed. And she felt compelled to do something about it. That's number 2. So you define your mission once you feel pulled to do something. But she realized she couldn't do it alone, so she had to have a message. And that message then would enable her to attract her current community of buddies, of stakeholders, of board members, of champions around the world. But it has to sit on the cornerstone of authenticity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why she shared a bit of her story, because especially if you are in a nonprofit, people want to know the story. They want to know the why. And why should they care? Why should they partner with you? Why should they invest their funds with you? Why should they link their name to yours? Think about it. I mean, the nonprofit goes, you're bringing in money for a bigger cause, but it's the why. It's that compelling why that defines your existence. So for those of you that are thinking about, should I be for-profit, nonprofit, get with the experts to help you define what that is and why would you want one over the other. You can have both. They can inform and feed into each other, right? Like you got the Tour of Love, you have Chemo Buddies for Life. They're a complement.
Right.
Sometimes the for-profit is funding the nonprofit.
Right. And that's the way, actually, if you're going to do it really well and solid, that's the route to go. People like me that was like, okay, this is a calling. My doctors and nurses, they saw the need. I had an original buddy. You guys have raised the frequency. We're seeing others heal. And one time, there's a whole story. I won't go into the backstory. I've shared it a number of times. However, they had logic in their explanation of why there should be something done. And at first it was, what is it? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a for-profit? Is it a social media? What is it? And that's where the research was done. One of the things that people don't understand, and this is something that business people, at least in the United States, I'm not a CPA. I'm not even going to say I am. However, I've talked to quite a few business people and some CPAs, and that is, even if you have a for-profit, but then you're realizing, okay, it's not really a for-profit. It needs to be a nonprofit. It can be recategorized. There's work that needs to be done. You have to go through the qualification. However, you can do that. Also, you can do the vice versa. And that sometimes is what needs to take place too. If you have a nonprofit, but it's not thriving, but you are serving, yet you're not good, it's like, okay, in my lane, there's others that maybe are a little bit more the obvious choice in the nonprofit, yet we have something to offer here. You can recategorize. And so that's where, again, if you're thinking of creating the business, because it is a business, you want to do as much research as you can. However, it's never going to get started if you don't start. And that is the thing that always was my backup, the plan B, if you will. You always have to have, anybody that's in business, you got to, you have, your exit strategy, or you have whatever it may be that is your business strategy. Mine always was, well, if nothing else, if by any chance I need to recategorize, I need to whatever, the laws work in my favor to do that in a business sense. And so that's the good news in regards to anybody that is thinking about having a nonprofit or a for-profit with a cause, or having a for-profit company to align with a nonprofit that you either create yourself or you find one that goes hand in glove with your business, that you can, because there's so many business strategies and tax breaks, and you start going into the dollars and cents of it, it makes a lot of sense to do something like that. It just absolutely, and that's what I want to say. Thank you to those that are the lawmakers that, some things you guys have gotten right. And that is one of the things that you've gotten right, is you've allowed for us to do good in the world and do good in the United States, to make a difference. And someone's saying something about it. Go ahead.
We've got a few more minutes, and I want to talk about this next piece. So sometimes we have to think creatively. I would say all the time we should be thinking creatively. If we're in a seat of business, how can we do things bigger, better, faster, smarter, affect change more readily? And as I preface the show, it takes money. And sometimes we have to think of those creative, innovative ways to get our message out there, to create awareness, and ultimately attract the money that we need. And I want to show this video, and we'll get into one of these amazing things that you're doing right now. And you as a listening audience, guess what? You get to participate. Is that exciting? This is interactive. So you get to participate in what we're about to share with you. Here we go. I know you all are saying, okay, what is this? We see her, we know she's fabulous, and I guess she's over 40. What are we voting for? And in case you just need to see the link, it's right here, votefab40.com/2022/Tamara-L-Hunter. So Tamara, tell us about this innovative and creative explosion that you're doing, because not only are you broadening the attention to Chemo Buddies, but it's also positioning you to possibly land a nice chunk of change, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say that my mindset is huge, that, guys, if I enter something, I'm going to win. That comes just from my toes. That's just who I am. Everything I've done, I just have that attitude, and it's not, I'm not hoity-toity about it. I just know and believe it. Now, winners, there's all sorts of different types of winners. Let's just say that many know the music shows, and the winner was really the winner. We can go strategize on that. However, when the Impactor came around, the bigger brand at the time was not the nonprofit. It was Service Heroes. And so I joined One Impactor with that mindset. It didn't have any kind of a money. However, it had a lot of exposure. That exposure helped to propel us to where we now are. However, now the money issue is an issue. And coming back at this point, it's like, okay, how do you come back where you haven't been doing any kind of fundraising, that your coffers are empty, you know, because if you don't keep that going, it's just the reality of life. And yet I have still been serving people, and yes, it's been out of my own pocket, and I'm okay with that. However, you can't sustain, you can't build, you can't grow in that way. So this showed up. It showed up in total alignment. And that's the only reason that I decided to go for it. And yes, it's a huge prize. Number one, a huge cash prize that would make a huge difference in getting our nonprofit up and going again, taking the message out there, doing some things we need to do legally, those type of things, because take funds. Number two, also, it will give us that much more exposure, because it would take us to the next level in a huge spread with a major magazine. So when you start putting all of this together, it's like strategy and the nonprofit, because there's always a nonprofit involved. The nonprofit is bringing awareness and testing to save lives in the C word that was my ribbon color. Let's just put it that way. Breast cancer awareness and mammograms for those that can't afford it, and those type of things. That's huge. I can get behind that all day long. And so the votes, that it's a popular vote, and it's going to be over in December 15th. It's quick. And I am out there, you know, I'm shaking hands, if you will, kissing the babies, if you will, you know, I'm out there saying it's more than me. It's not a beauty contest. It is a health and wellness competition that I'm going out there as an organization and what we call ourselves Team Tamara. And I would appreciate your votes. And what we are going to be doing is turning it into a 2023 where we can be that much more sustainable, because yes, this is a legacy that when done right, not only my family, not only your family, but the world family will benefit from what it is that we're doing within our community.
I love that. So, ladies, gentlemen, you heard it here. Team Tamara, let's get on board. Vote Fab Over 40 at votefab40.com/2022/Tamara-L-Hunter. And you can vote several days in a row.
Yes, every 24 hours. They've really made this work well. Again, I was in Impactor, and I won I'm the very first Global Next Impactor. I won. It was global, and yet it was the first competition in that brand. Well, this one is not, and they know what they're doing. And the strategy here is every 24 hours, you can do one vote for free using your Facebook page. There's other strategies every 24 hours. Then if you want to get behind Team Tamara in a bigger way, you can donate. And there's different strategies there. I'd love to hear from you if you want to strategize with me, because wink, wink, there's 3 phases to this. And we're in the first phase. And there's 2 more weeks of the first phase, or 2 or 3 more weeks. And then we're going to go into second phase. And we have to have a strategy for that. And we're going to go completely online with what that is. However, there is one. And if you guys really want to help, and I am looking to team with, and so we can continue that teaming also going into 2023 with the nonprofit, with the cause, and have a win-win-win, because that's what really life is all about. And that's who I am and what I'm all about. So yes, you can vote every 24 hours for free. And I am as almost on my knees. Let's just say that. If you want to join us, please, every day, put a timer, anything, and vote every day, because it adds up, and that's what's going to make the huge difference. Your free vote are priceless.
Well, Tamara, we're almost out of time, and as promised before the show, I want to give you 3 minutes to share whatever it is on your heart with the audience. And I just want to, again, do a recap here. In business, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, it's important to know your why, to find your mission, clarify that message so that you can attract the community that you want, and always, always ensure that you lead with authenticity. I'll let you take it away, Tamara.
Thank you. I know that many of you have faced those 3 words, either for yourself or for a family member. I have. And my why in everything I do is because of my mom. My mom faced her 6-letter word without even know she was facing it. She was alone and isolated because she also had superbugs, and I was going through active chemotherapy at the time. I couldn't be there holding her hand to hand. And she didn't quite understand it at the time because of what was happening inside of her brain. My mother was genius, and yet at the end, because of everything that was going on, she couldn't quite grasp it. Every day I think about that, and I think, did I let her down? No. It's called pay it forward. I am paying it forward every day in honor of my mother and in honor of her father, my grandfather, who, again, I was not able to be there with. However, I wanted to be. It's time now for us to change the world, and we can. That's the good news. And what my mission in life is, as long as I am drawing breath, is to see that we change our world and we create an environment where healing through connections is the norm, not the exception. We need to do this together, guys. And this is an opportunity. I am asking for your vote. In the season of voting here in the United States, I'm campaigning for your vote, and I'm campaigning for a vote for life. And it might be a little different than what you normally hear with a campaign for life. The life is that we can live. We can live. And science has proven if you are alone and isolated and going through something like the C word, your odds of living have been diminished. So let's make it so that no one has to face it alone, that there is healing through connection, and there is a strong unity and community, that people don't have to be alone like my mother felt and like my grandfather was when they gained their wings. We've got to change it now. And your vote is for them. Your vote is for someone in your own family and for yourself, even if you've been touched by that word or a situation where someone felt alone and isolated. Thank you, Luana. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Thank you, Tamara. I really appreciate it. To our listening audience, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I want to again put up how you can be a part of Team Tamara. We know you're going to join. We're all about being a part of winners, right? And
Yes.
Tamara is a winner. And it's about helping others to find their hope so that they can continue to live, continue to make the impact and influence so that we collectively can make the world a better place. So go cast your vote daily at votefab40.com/2022/Tamara-L-Hunter and be a celebrated part of Team Tamara. Yes?
Thank you. Yes. Yes. We are winning, guys. We are winning, and we're going to win the grand prize. Let's do this together.
Well, I'm looking forward to the good report, Tamara. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. To our listening audience on E360 TV and where we're streaming on LinkedIn as well as Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your support. And again, join Team Tamara at the link below. Let me put it up here one more time. Let me find this link. Don't want you to miss it. There you go. Link below.
Thank you, everyone.
And for all of you, just remember, in life and in business, when your dream and your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, be blessed. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.